In the previous videos, we have spoken about execution. Now, execution can be a very vague term. If there is a structured framework around it, that would make it much more easier. In today's episode, we will talk about execution lifecycle, why it does matter, and what is it. Any execution can be defined in certain stages. It can be broken up into certain stages, and these stages are what we call an execution lifestyle. There are smaller components to the whole execution, which makes it easier for the teams to deliver the whole strategic initiative or a project. It also it avoids confusion on what stage the project is, and it defines the activities that need to be done in that stage. It also gives a roadmap for the teams and the management to see how the project is progressing. So let's dive deep into what are those stages of the execution lifecycle. So what are those four stages of execution lifecycle? So they are initiation, planning, build, and finally closing. So let's talk about them in detail. So let's talk about initiation. That was the first one in the whole life cycle. Initiation is a phase where you're starting to figure out what is it that you need to do. It is a phase where you define the reason for taking a particular or a specific strategic initiative. Now, it can be a project, it can be initiative, but you are at this stage defining the purpose, the reason why you're doing, and whether it's solving a problem or not. And more importantly, if the stakeholders agree that this problem can be solved, and that initiative is what is defined in the initiation stage. Now, if this stage is not defined very clearly, it's in the later part of the execution life cycle, it can get very complicated, and you may not get the results that you wanted to, because things are not clear and there is confusion among the team on why we are doing this project. So initiation becomes one of the most important part to start the whole execution life cycle. The next step is planning. Now, at this stage, we define how and when do we do a certain activities in this project. So it's not about just doing a Gantt chart. It's actually sitting down, dividing the activities into smaller packages, assigning responsibilities, getting the teams aligned, defining when and how it is to be done, the allocation of resources, the risks that we have when the execution actually starts. One thing to note is that the work has not actually started. What you are doing at this stage is just planning it out, putting on paper, and how we are going to do the execution when the time comes, right? Why is it important? Because in this stage, you already have a framework. It's a map. It's a roadmap. You have a framework on what are the activities that you need to do. So it becomes critical for teams to follow this roadmap and move to the next stage. So you had initiation, you had planning. Let's move to the build stage. The planning is done, the roadmap is defined. Now it has to be put in action, which means the teams have to be on site, do the work, start showing progress against the work that is needed to be done, start showing some results. So in this stage, what is important is that the leadership is most of the time the leadership is make two mistakes. One is either they give a hands off and say, okay, the execution team will do it, or they would go and micromanage. Both the things are not good in this stage. In the execution stage, you need to make sure that the work is getting done. The teams are the roadblocks that are there for the team is being removed, because they will be the moment the plans up. Everything will not go as per the plan. Things will change. The idea is, during this stage, is to make sure that as the changes happen, the teams continue doing their work, and the risks are mitigated as and when they come. The leadership role during this phase is not micromanagement and not hands off. It is about reviewing the progress, removing the roadblocks that are coming for the team, and communicating openly on what are the things that are hampering the progress, where is the support needed, who the support is needed from, and bringing all those things together. So that's the build phase, and this is usually the longest part of the whole execution life cycle, and things happen or don't happen during this phase, which then takes me to the next phase. So you have done your initiation, you have done your planning, you have executed. That should be over, right? But that's not so. You have to close the project or your strategic initiative, which means you need to make sure that everything that was planned has been completed. You have to document things because there is a lot of lessons learned which the organization can use at a later stage of in any other project. So those have to be documented. The loose ends have to be closed. There are people that have to be reallocated to other initiatives or projects. You have to celebrate the wins, right? It is not only about lessons learned, it's also celebrating the things that you have been able to achieve. And it builds up a culture in the organization about an execution. So when you are closing a project, you're saying that as a leader, you're saying that we value a good execution. Usually it's all about firefighting sometimes, but this tells you that the execution has been done well. So let's go ahead and close this now. So this is where the whole life cycle comes. So it's very simple. It's initiation, planning, execution, and closing. And if you do these 4 steps and you're aware of the 4 steps and your team is aware of it, executions usually go very well. But it is a whole organizational that has to be behind it. And we will be talking about the executional ecosystem that supports this life cycle in the future videos. So thank you for joining. Until next time, this is Anurag Bhatnagar.